Planets describe the parts of our personality. Signs tell us how these planets perform. They are very descriptive, and houses are all about where. They define the territory of the chart, and they break the sky into 12 sections. I'm here to describe the overall significance of houses and give a brief introduction to each. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer. I focus on natal, predictive, and relationship astrology. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, leave me a like or a comment. I would really appreciate that. There's a link down below to book a reading with me, and you can check out the rest of my work and follow me on Instagram if you check out the links down below as well. So the division of houses starts at the horizon line. We have the ascendant and descendant. This is our horizon. The planets rise at the ascendant and they set at the descendant. It differentiates the visible part of the skies to the invisible part of the skies. Ascendant, as many of you may know, is the starting point of the chart, and it's the most important point for every individual. It describes our physical appearance, our body, the way the world perceives us, and it just basically represents the self. And descendant is usually the shadow self, or things we perceive as things in others. So this is our horizontal line, two hemispheres. And then we also have the second line, that is the meridian. And meridian represents the point in the skies where planets culminate. It's called the MC. And then we have the opposite point at the very bottom where the planets culminate on the other side, in the other hemisphere. So similarly, MC, or midheaven, the highest point of the meridian, represents it marks the 10th house, right? Like it marks the place where individual's life culminates. Their achievements go in the 10th house. And then 4th house, which is at the bottom, also called the line, the point is called IC, is the place where we start. It's the lowest point in the chart. So it deals with childhood and new beginnings. I mean, the early beginnings, right? So the planets rise in the east at the ascendant, they culminate at the midheaven, and then they set in the near descendant, and they continue the motion again and again and again through both hemispheres. So dividing the chart, the sky into using these two lines gives us 4 quadrants. And then by dividing each quadrant into 3 sections, we get 12 houses. So depending on the location where you are and the house system you use, the breakdowns will be different, and some houses can be larger than others. It doesn't mean that the houses that take more space in your chart are more important. What matters is the planets that are in each house. So there's a couple of ways of dividing the houses. The main way is the one that divides houses into angular, succedent, and cadent. And angular houses are the houses that are on those angles. So the first house that has the ascendant in it, the 4th house that has the IC, the bottom part of the meridian, the 7th house that holds the descendant, and then the 10th house that holds the midheaven. And these houses are the most important because they deal with the most important parts of your life. First house is who are you? 4th house, where do you live? Where do you come from? 7th house is who are you with? And 10th house, what do you do for a living? All very powerful, significant topics in our life. And these houses are very important because they are right on the angles, right? They're right at those culminating significant change points. Second category is the succedent houses, and succedent houses are the ones that are about to succeed, the ones that are next in order to rise. So it's the 2nd, the 5th, the 8th, and the 11th. So they're next in line to become angular because planets rise on the east. So the planets in the 2nd house are about to go in the 1st house and about to rise. And they primarily talk to resources we have. So 2nd house is your money, possessions, and values. 5th house is your creativity, your love life, your children. 8th house is the shared resources, money other people share with you, your loans, credits, your partner's money. And then 11th house is your network and your friends. And so planets in these houses have like a medium level of expression. And then finally, we have the third category, which is called Cadent Houses. And Cadent is the least powerful category, and those are the houses that were angular, but they have fallen off of grace, of graces. Rather, planets in them, they were angular just literally recently, and now they are away from the angle. And they're going to move, you know, accordingly into the succedent, and then they become angular. So they're quite far from the angle. And these are the 3rd, the 6th, the 9th, and the 12th house. Least amount of power, least amount of self-expression. These planets in these houses usually are very busy, and they're dealing with problem solving. For example, 3rd house is the house of your schedule and your siblings and kind of like day-to-day life, where you drive, where you talk on the phone. 6th house is about serving others, taking care of business, maintaining your health, your diet, exercising. 9th house is the place where you spend a lot of time studying, so you're figuring out your views, you're asking a lot of questions. And then 12th house deals with spiritual problems. The place where you spend some time by yourself and you try to transform and let go and release the past. So you may be facing some, spiritual escapist problems there. And so, according to which houses are highlighted, which planets go in which houses, there is more focus on that part of your life versus the other. And just, you may know that, you can assume that if the planet is in an angular house, then the planet speaks louder. It's a stronger planet. Doesn't mean if your sun is in the 12th, doesn't mean that planet is like weak, but it's not going to be as loud or as visible to other people. There are dark houses as well in astrology, and that is based on traditional aspects. So traditionally, we have aspects between planets that are 60 degrees apart, 90 degrees, 120, 180, right? Like for planets that are 30 degrees apart, so planets in the neighboring signs don't really make any traditional aspect to one another. Libra and Scorpio don't really make any aspects because they're just so close to each other. And so dark houses are the houses that don't make aspects to the ascendant. And so it's the 12th house that's right next to the 1st, and it's the 2nd house right next to the 1st, as well as houses right next to the 7th, 8th, and 6th. And, things in those houses, 2nd, 6th, 8th, and 7th, can sometimes be dark to us. It doesn't mean the house is like, a very bad house, but it means like things in those houses we may not see. 2nd house is money. Money sometimes hard to navigate, or it could be a topic of issues. 6th house is your health, and if you don't pay attention, if you eat a little bit much, it can slip through the cracks. 8th house is the resources other people share with us, and it could be also really hard to know how much money they have, are they fair with us, kind of all of these dynamics that are harder to put into words, as well as 8th house deals with death and fears. And then finally 12th house is the ways in which you escape, the ways in which you lie to yourself, things that you might not even understand, right? Because it's the house of hidden enemies, and a lot of times you are your own hidden enemy. Finally, yeah, I guess it's kind of finally. So there's also this thing called house joys, and according to that principle, every planet rejoices in a specific house, even if it's a cadent house, like it's the 12th house. Saturn loves the 12th house, so it gives your planet a little bit more power. So 1st house, Mercury really likes being in the 1st house, and it's because 1st house is face-to-face communication. It's in-person dealings, right? Like Mercury likes the ability to communicate with people in person. Moon rejoices in the 3rd house. Third house classically has been called the house of the goddess. And Moon moves really fast, right? 3rd house deals with like daily life, lots of driving around, talking, scheduling, anything like that. As well as 3rd house is the familiar place. It's your neighborhood. It's things that you can do almost with your eyes closed, except for driving, right? So the moon really rejoices in the 3rd of that because of that sense familiarity. So if you have the moon in the 3rd, your moon is happy there. Venus really loves the fifth house. Fifth house is the place of joy, fun, sex, creativity, children, what not to like. Venus is all about those things. Mars is happy in the sixth house. Sixth house deals with service and solving problems, paying bills, and Mars likes being busy. So if you have Mars in the sixth, that's great. Sun is very happy in the ninth house. It's considered its joy. Ninth house is called the house of God. And ninth house is the place of religion, philosophy, astrology, questioning things, learning. So solar energy can be constantly modified and improved in the ninth house. You know, it's that place of like deeper inquiry. And so the sun likes being tended to and attended to. Jupiter likes being in the 11th house. Jupiter is the planet of wisdom and growth and optimism. And 11th house holds all of your associates and groups of people you belong to. So there's just more access to more people. And Saturn likes the 12th house because 12th house is not the easiest place, but Saturn is not the easiest planet. So Saturn likes dealing with these spiritual questions and taking time to sort through them. Do you have any planets in its joy? Let me know down below. And finally, no house is ever empty. I know I already said finally, double finally. No house is ever empty. If you know, as an astrologer, I hear people ask me that all the time. They're like, seventh house is the house of marriage. I don't have any planets there. What does it mean? If there's no planets in the house, there is always the ruler of that house. And you can find out the ruler by looking at the planet that rules the sign on the cusp of your house. So let's go with the first house, right? Like if you are a Scorpio rising, Scorpio is ruled by Mars traditionally. So you can take a look at what Mars is doing in your chart. If you are a Scorpio rising, your seventh house will be Taurus, and say your Venus is in Pisces, very happy Venus in its joy in the sign that she's exalted. So even though you don't have any planets in the house of marriage, you have a really strong ruler responsible for it. So it means that your love life is likely to fare well, even if maybe you encounter certain glitches in the beginning. So let's do a quick breakdown of the houses in order. First house, vitality, physical body, personality, identity. Second house, your resources, values, money, possessions. Third house, siblings, schedule, communication, daily life, everything you do on a day-to-day basis. Fourth house, home, family, land. Fifth house, joy, creativity, children, sex, romance. Sixth house, serving others, problem solving, maintenance of health. Sometimes, you know, not health you're given, that is more first house. Sixth house is health matters that befall you, things that happen if you don't pay attention. Seventh house, partnerships of all kinds, one-on-one, marriage and business partnerships. Eighth house, shared resources, things that other people bring you, loans, taxes, debts, death, because our body is a shared resource, something we eventually have to give back. Ninth house, education, travel, expansion of the world through philosophical, religious, and other kind of inquiry. 10th house, career, status, reputation. 11th house, friendships, networks. And 12th house, mental health, spirituality. I'm going to do a video for each of these, going into more depth and breaking down what it means to have a planet in each of the houses. But for now, let me know if this video resonated. If you have any questions, down below. Talk soon. Bye.